Hi everybody, this is foXnoMad, and today I want to help you travel smarter by answering the question, can you visit Socotra Island? Now, for those of you who don't know what Socotra is it's an island in the Indian Ocean. It's just right off the coast of Somalia and south of Yemen. It was a protectorate of the British Army around 1876. And after the British left the area, they basically gave that island to Yemen. So it became a part of Yemen. Now, why would you want to visit Socotra Island? Well, the New York Times calls it a wonderland. I visited myself as well before the Yemeni civil war, and it's one of the most fascinating places you'll see. There are over 300 endemic plant and animal species on the island that exist nowhere else. You've got the dragon blood trees, which just look something like out of a Tim Burton movie. I mean, it's really one of the most incredible, remote, non-visited places ever. At the height of their tourism season in 2011, which was sort of when Socotra tourism peaked, there were only 4,000 visitors in the entire year. So it's becoming a bit more popular on a lot of people's radar, but since this Yemeni civil war, it's been difficult to go there. And the primary reason for that is not because the war is actually in Socotra. There's no fighting there at all. The reason is because to go to Socotra, you need a visa to get there, and without a functioning government in Yemen to get the visa from, that made pretty much going there impossible. Now, the last time I wrote about this question, about 2 years ago, there were some tour companies offering tours to Socotra, but all of them completely disappeared. So they would take people's deposits, they wouldn't be able to fulfill their commitments, and they would just cancel the tour, but keeping that deposit, that initial deposit from a lot of people. There were some flights flying from just outside of Dubai to Socotra, but those flights never really happened. There were rumors of some other flights happening from some other places on the Arabian Peninsula. Again, none of those ever happened, and a lot of people lost their money. So at the time, I couldn't recommend any reliable way to go. There was one blogger, Johnny Ward, who did get there, but he went there on a cargo ship, wasn't by the most official means, and anyway, he was able to visit, but I'll leave a link to his story in the comments below. But he had to basically sleep with rats and cockroaches, and it was pretty much an adventure, but something that not a lot of people would want to do. Can you go to Socotra is one of the questions I'm asked the most, since not a lot of people have been there, and I've been there and I've written about it. And so far, up until now, the answer has been no. I was going to do an update video of can you go to Socotra and do an update of that post, and pretty much expecting the answer to be the same, no. Then I came across friend and fellow blogger Norbert's post on Facebook, which I caught my eye because he had gone to Socotra, and I was really curious as to how he got there. So it turns out that you can actually go to Socotra now. The flights have reopened, and they've been reliable and regular enough to where you can visit without having to worry about losing your deposit. Now, at any time, even before the Civil War, flights to Socotra were spotty. And now those flights have resumed every Wednesday reliably from Cairo, stopping over in Seiyun, Yemen. They happen about once a week on Wednesdays, so you can take that flight on a Wednesday. You can only fly from Cairo or one city in Yemen. The flight from Cairo actually stops over in that city in Yemen and then continues on to Socotra. Most of the passengers are going to be Socotris who are going back and forth either to get supplies or see family or whatever. So there are not a lot of tourists that are going back and forth. There were only about 20 on his flight. I'll link to his article on how to get there in the description below. So essentially, to go to Socotra, you do need a visa, and you need to book the flight in person, either from that city in Yemen, but probably for a lot of people what's going to be easier is booking it from Cairo. There are two ways to get the visa. One is having a contact in Socotra, and the second way is to use a tour company. Now, if you need a contact in Socotra, I'll leave a link to my post which has some contacts there as well. You can contact those tour guides there to see if they can arrange the visa for you, but I'll also leave a link to that Globotreks article as well in the description so that you can check out Norbert's tour company that he used and the exact process, so you can find out a little bit more on how to visit Socotra. Basically, there's one flight a week. It's on Wednesdays. It may or may not take off. It's pretty spotty. So just keep in mind, if you go to Socotra, it's going to be at least a week stay from Wednesday to Wednesday. You're going to need to book those tickets in person, most likely from Cairo or another city in Yemen, which is on the stopover. And then your return flight is going to be on Wednesday, again, stopping over in Yemen for a couple hours, and then from there flying on to Cairo. Now, if you haven't seen already, Socotra is an incredible place to visit. It's one of the most untouched places that I think I've ever seen in my life. I mean, hardly anybody goes there. There are beaches that are just covered in just shells, and it's just an incredible place to visit. The culture there is also very diverse and interesting. The campgrounds are just beautiful. The stars you see at night are amazing, so I can't recommend it enough. If you have a chance to visit Socotra, then I would highly recommend you do that. So the flight from Cairo costs about $1,200, the visa costs about $100, and a tour is going to cost you about $1,500 for a week's tour in Socotra. Now keep in mind there are only two ways to get a visa to Socotra. The first is to know somebody in Socotra to get a visa for you, or the second and much more easy way is to book a tour and the tour company will get your visa for you as part of your Socotra tour. Now you might hear that price and think that you can get away without a tour, although I wouldn't recommend it. The reason being is because the tour guides there, if you get a good tour or very knowledgeable, can show you the different plant species. They'll take you on trails or different parts of the island that you wouldn't find. There's not a lot of infrastructure there, so it's not like you can rent a car and drive around and find all these hidden gems on your own. A tour guide is going to be essential, especially to point out the different plants, what the plant significance are, how those plants evolved there, and the different animals that you'll see in Socotra and nowhere else. You can also snorkel and so on. There are some things to do there, but without a guide, you're not going to have the best experience in Socotra. So it's definitely to your advantage to have a tour guide. And especially if you need to get to the island, you're probably going to have to take a tour anyway. So budget about $3,000 just to get to Socotra for about 1 week. Once you're there, meals and everything are not going to cost a lot. Most of the tours include meals as well, so it's not going to be too much more expensive after that. It's not like there's a gift shop or anything at the airport. It's quite small. There's not a lot of tourism industry there at all, so it's not going to get too much more expensive once you're there. Budget about $3,000 to visit Socotra, and you should be good to go from there. So in the end, is it possible to visit Socotra? Well, the answer is yes, you can visit Socotra. You just need to go to Cairo or Seyoun in person and pick up your ticket to get to the island, and you'll also need a visa, which most likely you're going to have to get through a tour company by booking one of their tours. It's a little bit cumbersome all around, but it is possible and a lot more reliable than it's been in the past. So let me know if you have any questions about visiting Socotra or what Socotra is like in the comments below. Again, I'll link to all of these articles that I mentioned and all these blog posts also down there, so you can check those out, get more references, and check out Norbert's post on visiting Socotra as well. And if you've gotten this far, thanks very much for watching the video. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons. I'll have new videos for you every week. Thanks again, and I will see you in the next video.